Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Executive Focus. I'm Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel. My co-host, Joelle Lukasiewicz. Joelle, thanks for being with me again today.
As always.
Our two guests today happen to be from emergency management. They're the people that manage emergencies. And again, I know you've been on our show once before. Vicky Wolber, she's the actual director of emergency management, and the assistant director of emergency management, Peter Locke. Pete, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And thanks for being here again.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So one of the questions that a lot of people like to ask is, what is emergency management?
Yes, it's not very well known. I think most people, when we tell them what we do, that the easiest thing to say is, if you think of the tornado sirens or your outdoor warning sirens going off, that's what we do. That's one of the easiest thing I think that the average citizen can relate to. But actually, we're charged with being the coordinating agency for large-scale emergencies and disasters that happen in our area, for doing all the planning and preparedness that goes on with that. We're also part of the response system for when an incident actually does happen. And then we also have the mitigation piece, which ties into the trying to prevent things or lessen the effect of an emergency or disaster should they occur in our area. So it's a very multifaceted job. We get to work with a lot of different disciplines and non-profit groups and businesses.
And again, if you can, just tell us a quick, brief background. In other words, how did you get into this emergency management stuff? Where did you start your career, I guess, in dealing with public safety?
Sure. I started at the city of Fraser, and I was actually, kind of a funny story, I was hired 18 right out of high school, and it was only supposed to be a part-time job that lasted over the summer for 3 months, basically. And when I left there to come to the county, I'd worked there for 12 years. And one of the assignments that they happened to give to me was emergency management. Fraser happened to have their own program independent of the county program, so I was their coordinator for a number of years. And then I came to the county in 2000 as the assistant director, and then approximately 4 years ago I was named the director of it, so almost 20 some odd years in the field, and I just love it. It's it varies from day to day. You meet so many different people, and while you don't get to be the police officer on the street or the firefighter fighting the fire or doing the EMS runs, you get to be a part of that and see what they do and appreciate it, and come to understand what they do to make all of that work when an incident does happen. So I'm thrilled with the job that I have.
And I know they're thrilled with the job you do too. I mean, it's kind of hard getting I don't know if there's any fire chief, police chief, fire officer, and/or police officer out there that knows you and knows what you do, that doesn't have a great deal of respect and admiration for not only what you do but how you do it. So you get a good deal of response from those in the public safety entity. And even your right-hand man right here, he does as well. So Pete, can you give us a little bit about your background and
Certainly.
What brought you into emergency management?
I started in the city of Dearborn as a firefighter, and I was severely injured on the job, and after 3 back operations, they decided I couldn't go back into firefighting. So they offered me the position, either a retirement pension due to disability or come back and take over the reins of emergency management. So I became the emergency management coordinator for the city of Dearborn. And I retired after 26 years and was hired 2 days later. My longest or the shortest retirement in history, it was 2 days. And you look back at it, I should have taken a week off maybe, I think. Started working with Macomb County, so I've been with the county now for 10 years next week. So I've been with emergency management for 21 years.
I think my retirement's a little bit shorter than his.
Yours was called a transition.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give you that one. So there was no retirement.
So being in Dearborn with emergency management, were you involved in the Rouge plant explosions at all?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so that gave you a lot of good experience.
Actually, I was sitting in the mayor's office with the police chief, the fire chief, Salvation Army, and Red Cross. We were reviewing protocols to respond to a long-term event, and all of our pagers went off at once. And it happened, we were there for 10 days at the Rouge complex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a real-life tabletop experience.
Sitting there planning for something, and it actually occurred.
And how did everything go after that? I mean, did it go as planned?
Oh yeah, we had done a lot of planning in Dearborn. I'm very proud of the fact that I conducted the largest full-scale exercise in the history of the United States. Over 50,000 people participated. I actually fed 10,000 people in one day in the shelter operations, and it cost over $1 million. We don't have money like that anymore for these types of exercises. But my biggest focus as an emergency manager in Dearborn, such as ours now in Macomb County, is preparation. We can respond much more better, and we can serve our people a lot better if we're prepared ahead of time. So our time in the office is sitting there going over plans, making contacts, and making sure everybody is trained and ready to respond when the big one hits.
Well, as we were talking just before the show, I don't think a lot of people even realize that your entity exists.
Right.
Because they see the police, they see the fire, they see the road commission, so they don't even know that you're there. So give me a grocery list of the things that you do. Tornadoes.
Well, we have a hazard mitigation plan that's actually on the website, and you can look at that. It's actually the only plan in the state of Michigan that's been approved by FEMA and the state for an update. Every other county and municipality has to have one. Macomb County is the only one in the state that's got one approved fully. I believe it's 25 threats to the county right now, going from floods, terrorism, snowstorms, thunderstorms, lightning strikes, high winds, earthquakes, and the like. And to get a good idea not only on every threat that we have in the county, but the historical perspective, how many times each threat has actually occurred, what the worst of these events have happened and when they've happened and how they impacted the county. The last F5 to hit the state of Michigan occurred in Macomb County. That's a tornado. So there's it's a lot of good reading. I got a lot of good reading out of it, and everyone can go online and read that too.
Was that the one in
Hazard
Washington
mitigation plan.
Township, or when was that? Or where was that one?
That
last
went
time?
through Chesterfield and New Baltimore
Oh,
and
okay.
crossed the lake and went into Ontario. And that was, I believe, 62, 63, something like that.
Oh, okay.
64.
64?
64, I think, yeah.
Okay. Very good. And your experience with the county, you've been with the county for how long again?
10 years
10
next
years.
week.
Okay. Very good. As far as your connectivity with law enforcement and the fire departments, is that your responsibility, in other words, to bring them together for these various exercises?
Yes, that's our one of our main focuses is to work with all the different disciplines that there are. We work closely with police, fire, EMS. We have relationships with our county health department. We work with the businesses. Anybody that really has a piece in the community is who we need to coordinate with. Citizens are included in that group, and as Pete alluded to earlier, it's all about the preparation, because if we can prepare them before something happens, it'll make it that much smoother when a disaster actually happens. They'll be trained, they'll know what to do, and it'll kind of be second nature to them, and that's our goal to do that. But yes, we have liaisons within every community in Macomb County that we meet with on a regular basis. Some of them we're more involved with than others, depending on what's going on at the time. But you know, on a daily basis, you know, I talk to police, fire departments, our health department, the hospitals. So we have quite an extensive network out in the community, and that expands too outside of Macomb County. We have the same contacts based in the region and within the state.
In my former life dealing with law enforcement, we had reserves, people that were just general public citizens that wanted to help participate and did so voluntarily. Do they have that within the emergency management system? Are there people that volunteer in certain capacities to help out if and when there's some kind of a disaster that you already have a list of, or provide them training?
Yes, we actually have a Citizen Corps Council that was a FEMA DHS initiative, and the Citizen Corps Council is made up of various groups. Some of them that have a very deliberate focus. The reserves from the Sheriff's Office, actually, they are recognized as a volunteer police service, or a VIPS program. There's a fire corps that obviously is volunteers who are interested in the fire discipline. One of the largest ones that you hear the most about is actually a community emergency response team, or it's referred to as CERT. So we have a number of those teams throughout the community. The public health department just recently started a medical reserve corps, and that's known as a MRC. So there's a lot of different opportunities for people to volunteer within their local jurisdiction and at a county level.
How do they do that? How if somebody's listening right now and says, you know what, I'd like to volunteer to be a part of some kind of a, assistance to emergency management. What do they do? Log on the website? Is there a phone number or something?
Yeah, there's websites that they can go on. Again, even if they're not in Macomb County, there's a national website. They can see the different communities and teams that are registered. They can contact our office. A lot of the local jurisdictions, again, have their own programs that feed up. So yeah, it's basically getting out there, making the phone calls, and it's easily accessible.
So they can go to MacombCountyMI.gov and either send us a letter or look onto the website, the connectivity to emergency management, and we'll get them signed up. Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue to talk to Vicky and Pete a little bit more about emergency management. We'll be right back. You think you know Macomb County? You say we're blue collar and tough? Yeah, that's us. You say we use our hands to build America's cars, trucks, and tanks? Yeah, that's us too. But we're more than that. We're more than our jobs. We're more than what we build. And we're more than what you say we are. Yeah, many of our colors are blue. But so are the ribbons our schools are awarded. The same schools that churn out some of America's finest doctors, lawyers, physicists, and engineers that not only work here, but play here. Their yachts dot our lakes, their golf balls, our fairways. In an ever-changing world, there must always be a constant, a place to call home. I live in Macomb County. It is my home, and it is constant. Constantly changing, constantly evolving, and constantly elevating the world and the people that live in it. So if you think Macomb County is just a place where we build things, you're right. But what we're building is momentum.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
Welcome back. We're with Vicky and Pete talking a little bit about emergency management, and during a break we had a little conversation, kind of sidebar conversations about some of the things that people maybe inquire about, and want to know from your office, whether it's by email, maybe a phone call, or even some people still do it through mail, kind of get a hold of us. But some of the, I guess, interesting concerns people may have or questions they ask that maybe are standardized and some that are somewhat unique. What kind of response do you get from the public about what you do?
Like we were talking earlier, I received a letter yesterday from an individual who was concerned about where the closest fallout shelter was to his home address, and I gave him a call back to inform him that the fallout shelter program, which protected the citizens at a time of a nuclear strike, was no longer in place, and those types of shelters were not in operation. But I gave him some information about tornado shelter and in-place sheltering in case there was hazardous material release. But he was very interested to know where he should go if there was a nuclear attack.
Okay, so there's still people out there that still are concerned about those particular issues. And again, it's funny. I mean, although it may sound far-fetched, I mean, reality is there still is potential for some kind of a threat in that regard.
Exactly.
Right, I was going to say, I mean, maybe not so much nuclear, but biochemical.
Yep.
And so what do you tell people? I mean, do people call your office, or maybe this is a good time to talk about how people should be prepared for certain things?
Okay.
Personal preparedness. I think that was what a word you had used before during the break. What does that mean?
I think the most important thing for the people to do in the Macomb County and the state of Michigan, this country, on our website we have developed a booklet that they can call us or write to us, and we'll send them individually a book, or if they want a large number of books, we've had churches come by, schools, we'll give them boxes of these booklets, and the booklet helps you to prepare yourself for any type of an emergency, not just a tornado or a flood. It's for all emergencies. And this booklet is on our website, so you don't even have to call us up to ask for one to be sent to you. You can go onto the website and open up the preparedness workbook. And if you follow every step, and we have home hazard hunts, we have the emergency preparedness kit, a road kit, and evacuation kit, steps on how to instruct your prepare the babysitter. And if you're out of the area, going to a movie or whatever, and something happens, and the babysitter's taking care of the children, what they should be doing, things to look at if you don't trust the mail that's been sent to you, what to look for dangerous mail. There's a lot of information on that book, and that's the key step. If everyone would take a few minutes, just a few minutes a day, to go through the book and to prepare themselves and their family, then when a disaster hits, it's not a disaster anymore, it's an inconvenience. And that's what we strive for.
And makes your life a lot easier because people will know what it is we're going to ask them to do or what we need them to do to be a participant in helping us, get through that particular incident or situation.
Exactly.
Right, because when an incident happens, the first responders, it's life safety in those situations, and they want to be able to take care of the people that are directly impacted by whatever the event is. And the more able-bodied people that can take care of themselves, the less the first responders have to worry about those people. So if you can routinely take care of yourself and know that, hey, I can take care of myself. We preach about 3-day supplies, take care of yourself for 3 days before we can get to you. It allows the first responders and organizations like ours to actually take care of the disaster. And you don't have to worry about the other people who may just have lost power. Or now I can't get and go to the grocery store. I can't get money out of the ATM. But if you follow some of the things that we suggest in our guide, you'll be able to take care of yourself for those 3, 4, 5 days until we start to hopefully move into a recovery process and start getting things back to normal.
Now, what kind of disaster are you talking about? Because it sounds a little bit extreme, like maybe a really big disaster. So what would give me an example?
Right, we've had occurrences such as the power outage, more on an emergency scale than a disaster. I think a disaster, you start getting into tornadoes, earthquakes, which we did have and is one of our threats. Disasters are usually more destructive when you term it such as that. But again, you have the power outages. We have floods that occur regularly in our area, and those pose problems for citizens as well that they need to know about and cope with.
One thing I've always thought about in the case of a disaster, they say the obvious, have food supplies and water, but they also say, have a plan for your family, either another point to go to meet outside of your home, or, we all rely on cell phones. Oh my gosh, the cell phones aren't going to work. How do you get in touch with each other and say, okay, I'll meet you at so-and-so? And I often find myself thinking, well, where would I meet my family? And God, I really should make another plan other than being able to call them on the cell phone. But it seems hard.
It's not. It's fairly easy once you sit down, and if you have a guide that helps you. I think for the most part, for contacts, we talk about out-of-state contacts. If you have that, or even out of area, and your whole family has that one contact. So hopefully you can get a hold of that person out of state. All your other family members are contacting that person, and at some point you can know that, okay, my husband or my kids have called that number. I know they're okay. I may not be able to talk to them myself right now, but this person becomes the hub for that. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and we go over our plan. She knows even in a fire. I ask her regular, if there's a fire, what are you supposed to do? Yell for mom and dad, get out of the house, and go to Mr. Bob's house, which is a few houses down the street, and wait. So they can be as simple as that, and again, you can even teach the little kids simple things that they can do to help protect themselves and be better prepared, not be as scared either when it does happen. I think knowledge takes away some of that fear.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And you realize that, no, I have some control over this situation, and I have that control because I prepared and I'm ready to go.
dealing with 911, and obviously the tragedies that occurred, it kind of changed a lot with public safety, and I got to imagine emergency management. How impactful was that for your organization or your responsibilities? And today, I mean, I guess what's what is the I guess the transformation it has had in your office?
I think for the most part, the core principles of emergency management really have not changed. I think though the focus of the hazards have probably changed and more concerned with terrorism since that happened. Another big component that's driven that has been a lot of our grant funding. Because of terrorism, we have received millions of dollars in grant funds to get ourselves better prepared. And again, with that focus on terrorism and being able to respond to that situation, because that does bring different types of responses into the mix from what we were used to before. And I think a big focus of the grant funding has been to knock down some of the silos and barriers, because some of the provisions of the grant funding is to work as groups. It's no longer just one department gets this money, they go do their own thing. You're now required to make sure that you coordinate and make sure that you consolidate, standardize your equipment, standardize your procedures, your nomenclature that you use, so that when a large event does happen, you've all had the same training, you're familiar with the equipment. So I think being that it forced us to work together, I think that's been one of the greatest strides and things that it's done. We've built relationships that we probably wouldn't have had as strong ones before, and it's solidified those. And now we know that as the grant funding decreases, those relationships are there and they're solid now.
When you say that, you're talking about like not only local but also at the various levels or tiers such as state and federal government. I mean, the relationships and the connectivity's gotten a lot better.
Yes. Yes, a big piece of what they want to do is information sharing, again, between the local, the state, and the feds, and even within those with linear. Within the state departments, you had a lot of state departments that didn't talk to one another, and same thing at a federal level. And I think one of the best examples of that is probably public health. They were not as big of a player initially in emergency preparedness and response, and now that's just taken off. And now you do have these healthcare coalitions that we've built in the region and the state. And again, they're multi-jurisdictional and multi-level of government. We have someone from our office and local communities, state health, our county public health. You have the FBI sits in on those meetings, someone from the EPA. So we're all at the table.
Okay. Provide a better line of communications amongst the various agencies since then. What about seasonal issues? What do we look at as far as like year round? I got to imagine it's seasonal for you to kind of be prepared or think about things that people might need to be aware of.
Well, right now we're in the middle of the winter season, but you wouldn't know that by looking outside, thank goodness.
You've had a little relief this winter.
Wonderful winter. So right now we're in the middle of winter, but we are planning for the spring. So we are planning for the flood season, the tornado season, the severe weather season. And when that starts to hit, we look into the summer. Now that's the drought season, and a lot of things like that, tourism season, more traffic on the roads and the weekends. So we start planning for that while we're actually working on the spring. And then in the summer, when you're working on the summer threats, you're planning for the winter threats. So we always try to stay a season ahead of time in our planning, or we're actually working the season at hand.
And again, people get information by going online. They can actually go to the county website, MacombCountyMI.gov. If they need information or they need to connect to you, they have the access to do that on the county website. But also that booklet is available if they want to either have you send them a copy or they can actually download it for their own purposes, so they can be better prepared to handle things, as you had mentioned before, as a kind of a personal nature. That personal knowledge and understanding helps us tremendously within the public safety arena.
Right, and we also go out and do community talks. We're open to that by any type of group. We've gone out and done the Boy Scouts up to businesses, various churches have us come out. So we're available to do that as well, and we bring our books with us and other tools. I've given talks where I bring my personal disaster supply kit in, and you can actually show them how easy it is really to make a kit. So we have a program for that too that we're willing to do.
And so you're
as
willing
well.
to respond to those type of requests that people ask as well.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate it. Again, Pete, thank you very much for being
you.
on the show and being here and sharing with us. And Vicky, as always, thank you for coming back as a guest. And on behalf of my co-host, Joelle, and myself, we want to thank you for being a part of another executive focus format. Thank you very much for being here, and once again, have a safe day. Macomb County, 27 cities, townships, and villages. From East Point to Memphis, Romeo to New Baltimore. 458 square miles of where you want to be. It's a place where your children can grow, and so can your business. Macomb County's tree-lined borders contain over 12,000 acres of parkland. Its outer edge, 31 miles of freshwater shoreline, both filled each year with countless concerts, festivals, and family reunions. It's the birthplace of advanced technologies that not only instruct future generations, but protect them. Hey, and those are just facts. You can get that from the internet or a book. No. To truly understand what Macomb County is all about, you need to experience it. You need to live here. You need to work here. When you do that, you'll know you're home.
I realized at that moment, these people really needed us. And I was going to make a difference, right here in my community.
Be there for your community at NationalGuard.com.
You think you know Macomb County? You say we're blue collar and tough? Yeah, that's us. You say we use our hands to build America's cars, trucks, and tanks. Yeah, that's us too. But we're more than that. We're more than our jobs. We're more than what we build. And we're more than what you say we are. Yeah, many of our colors are blue. But so are the ribbons our schools are awarded. The same schools that churn out some of America's finest doctors, lawyers, physicists, and engineers that not only work here, but play here. Their yachts dot our lakes, their golf balls, our fairways. In an ever-changing world, there must always be a constant, a place to call home. I live in Macomb County. It is my home, and it is constant. Constantly changing, constantly evolving, and constantly elevating the world and the people that live in it. So if you think Macomb County is just a place where we build things, you're right. But what we're building is momentum.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes?
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yep.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.